I'm meteorologist Ashley Smith here in the First Alert Streaming Center on this Saturday. And, off to a pretty nice start to the day, but you can tell it's going to be warmer than what we've been having lately, what we've experienced last week, especially when on certain days we barely made it into the 70s. So today starts a very lengthy heat wave. We'll be talking about that. Let me make sure I get that actually in here. Okay, so we'll be talking about that, and then we'll also be talking about when we do see the chances for storms, which not a lot of rain in the upcoming forecast, but there are multiple chances for storms, so we'll talk more about that as well. If you were with us during the show, not only today, but even earlier this week, we've been watching at Newport on the Levee. They've been taking down some of the letters, I believe, cleaning them, painting them, kind of refreshing them, and then putting them back up. So that's what we were watching earlier this morning. What you'll see here on the Newport on the Levee cam, they have wrapped up that work for now. It's actually below the Newport sign where it says AMC IMAX. Those were the letters that they were cleaning and replacing and stuff. So anyways, we had it turned that way so that you could see them working on it, but looks like they've wrapped up that work. Probably going to be a busy day on the Ohio River, I would suspect, because it's going to be hot. It's going to be mostly dry, so really kind of a nice day out there at Clover Nook Country Club. We've seen some golfers from time to time there, but if you are going to be outside, stay hydrated, find shade. We haven't had temperatures in the 90s for a week. You have to go back to the 17th. And then, of course, not only did we not have temperatures in the 90s, but we had really cool fall-like air. Well, summer is back. For this entire week, we're going to have summer-like weather, but mostly dry conditions too. You see here on radar right now, there are some storms moving through parts of Missouri, some rain in parts of Illinois, but none of that going to impact us here at home. Even as we widen this view, there are some showers along the Atlantic coast. No tropical systems, tropical radar, tropical satellite, very quiet right now. No named storms, and National Hurricane Center says there won't be anything named. Probably in at least, they say no tropical activity in at least the next 48 hours, but I wouldn't be surprised if even in the next week we don't see any tropical activity. There's just nothing that we're tracking right now in the tropics that could be a problem. So if you're vacationing along the coast, perhaps for Labor Day weekend or beyond, I think you're going to be okay. At least that's what it looks like right now. Obviously, if that changes, we will let you know. So around here, what we're talking about, kind of the things making headlines, we're going to have a lengthy heat wave starting today, continuing throughout much of the week. Humidity will be increasing next week as those dew points return to the 60s and 70s, and that's going to make it feel obviously much warmer as well. We'll also be tracking those storm chances starting as early as Tuesday, but I really think the better chance for storms is going to be by the middle to the end of the week, and so we'll talk about that as well. Outside right now, of course, first let's talk about the drought monitor. This was updated on Thursday, did show some slight improvement across parts of our area, but also showed that some spots are seeing worsening drought conditions. So it just kind of depended upon where you were. We actually had moderate drought across parts of northern Kentucky. Now it's just abnormally dry. But if you go to the east, parts of Highland County included in an extreme drought, severe drought, and moderate drought all across Highland County. So that area really dry. I know Ethan Emery has shared some photos from that area where it is very dry. A pond is way below where it should be for the normal amount of water that it normally retains. So kind of the eastern portions of our viewing area, at least northeastern portions, still dealing with those drought conditions. And then you go into the Ohio Valley and it's worsening as well, with many areas in an extreme drought from eastern Ohio to parts of West Virginia. So we need the rain around here, some more than others, but just doesn't look like we get that steady kind of soaking rain like what we could really use. Temperatures right now, 70s and 80s already. These are, of course, the 11 a.m. readings, and we're already very warm. So 83 degrees at CBG, 81 in Falmouth, 77 at Lunken and Lebanon, 77 in Harrison, Hamilton at 80. Not much of a breeze either. So that makes it feel a little bit warmer. The heat index right now just 1 degree warmer than the temperature there at CBG. Temperature 83, feels like 84. Winds are light out of the southwest. So not much of a breeze to stir up that air to make it feel at least a little bit better. If you're going to be outside. So if you are going to be outside, make sure that you grab that sunscreen too. That UV index will be high today as well. Just wanted to check the wind gusts. I'm sure there are none, but let's just look. Yes. So let's trying to see what's coming up next. But with that heat and humidity increasing, obviously that's going to lead to the higher heat indices as well. So the dew points in the coming days stay, actually we're having them in the 60s right now, but they really start to increase by the middle to the end of the week. And of course, when those dew points start to increase, getting closer to 70 degrees, so does the heat index. So at times it will feel like it's closer to 100 this week. We don't have any heat advisories, any kind of heat watches or warnings, excessive heat watches or warnings right now for us, but there are actually some heat advisories, watches, and warnings across a large portion of the country. Let me actually pull that up. Where do I have that? It's interesting where it is too, because it's even in parts of the Dakotas they're dealing with that heat. Well, let me search for it here. This actually, you know what? Stand by. It's only showing some of the advisories because of timing, so I'm trying to tinker with that. But of course, the computer is going slow, probably because it's been on for so long. Let's do. There we go. Still not what I want. Okay, let's do it this way. Okay, we add heat. There we go. Okay, well, that took way longer than it should have. So these are heat advisories and excessive heat watches and warnings off to the west, basically from parts of Minnesota into North Dakota, South Dakota, Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, Missouri, all included in, I guess even New Mexico, all included in these heat advisories, heat watches, and warnings. So these are even in areas as far north as Minnesota, as far south as Texas, where of course in Texas they're already used. Let's see what this excessive heat warning actually says. I got the heat. Let me see. Apparently I didn't click on the right thing. There we go. Excessive heat warning from noon until 9. Dangerous hot conditions. Heat index values up to 112. That's what it's going to feel like in parts of Texas and Oklahoma today. And then if we look into parts of Minnesota, what's it say for the heat index? 110. So yeah, even in these areas where, either they're used to the heat and it's still excessive for them, or they're not used to the heat and it's going to be really dangerously hot and humid for them as far north as the Dakotas and Minnesota. So, of course, that heat, that kind of air mass is headed our way. So we're also going to be experiencing that hot and humid weather. We don't have any advisories related to the heat in effect right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if maybe later in the week when we do see those heat indices closer to 100 that we do see that happen. We do see those types of things issued later in the week, but nothing like that right now. For us today, our temperatures are only going to be in the 90s, and the humidity is relatively low. So the heat index itself, maybe 92 degrees at times. It's not going to be much higher than the actual temperature. So that's good news there. Okay, let's talk about storm chances. I know we have a couple of questions about those storm chances as well. So let's dive in. We are talking about that chance for thunderstorms really not increasing until maybe Tuesday or Wednesday. Better chance to the middle to the end of the week. So here's what it looks like. Here, let's go back to Tuesday, because I mentioned there's a chance on Tuesday, but not all of the models are agreeing with that. They're keeping the stronger threat for severe storms. So you notice here Tuesday, and I know it's kind of like off the map, but in parts of northern Indiana, northern Ohio, that's where the Storm Prediction Center is watching for the chance of possibly severe storms or strong storms on Tuesday. It is not here in the tri-state. Now, storms struggle to get here on Tuesday. Wednesday afternoon, we have a better chance for storms into the evening hours. Could see some of those storms. They taper off overnight. And then Thursday, excuse me, we see that potential for storms Thursday as well. And then into the weekend, we're also going to be monitoring that chance. Chance for scattered thunderstorms even into the weekend. So that's not what I wanted to do. Okay, so let's see here. So the weekend right now, just looking like scattered thunderstorms for Saturday and Sunday. Again, that's next weekend. That's, of course, Labor Day weekend. I know a lot of folks might have plans outside for a picnic or a barbecue, maybe going to the swimming pool for one of the last times, or Kings Island, those types of outdoor activities. At this point, I would not tell you to cancel those plans. I would just keep in mind that, you might have to be dodging some of those storms at times. Very typical pattern of this time of year. The Reds do come back to town on Tuesday. They even have a post-game concert on Thursday. So we'll be watching for those chances of storms throughout the week and into the weekend as well, with those isolated to scattered thunderstorms going to be possible this much of this week. Highs will be in the 90s. Heat index will be a little bit warmer than that, especially there on Tuesday. It looks like we kind of peak. Maybe the heat index is closer to 100. So those are the days where we could potentially see some of those advisories or watches or warnings get issued. Wanted to make sure that I got to those questions. Yeah, so, excuse me. Yeah, I think as far as the severe risk, it's going to be north of us. We don't really see that here in the tri-state even. And actually, they've even changed it since I looked at it this morning, and it's still well north of our region for